Hey everybody, today I'm going to walk us through Lesson 8 in the Adobe Illustrator Classroom in a Book 2024 release. That's using color to enhance artwork. I want to tell you all that the important part of these tutorials is to use these tools. So let's go. To complete today's lesson, in Illustrator, I'll choose File, Open, L8_start.ai. You'll find that in the course on Blackboard. The first thing I want to talk about is the color mode. All of our new documents in Illustrator, if we choose File, New, will open in some kind of color mode, which is here, CMYK or RGB. The main difference between CMYK and RGB is whether or not your final output is intended for screen or for print. So if you're making something for a screen, a phone, a display, the web, you'll use the RGB color mode, the red, green, and blue color mode. If you're making something for print, use the CMYK color mode or cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. We can also look at the color mode in an existing document by choosing File, Document Color Mode, and change it here. CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, best for printed documents. And RGB, red, green, and blue, best for screen or projected documents. These are intended for print, so we'll stick with the CMYK color mode. In Illustrator, you recall from our earlier demos that we have a fill color and a stroke color, and that's what colors are applied to. So in this case, our fill, the default, is a white fill and a black stroke. We can swap those by clicking here on this little doodad or Shift X to swap those. Make black the fill color and white the stroke color. We can press D or click this thumbnail here, way over on the left-hand side, to go back to the default fill and stroke, which is black stroke, white fill. I'm going to drag my cursor over this left side bookmark and press Command plus to zoom in a few times. And there we are. Just click off of it to deselect. So we're looking at this nice kind of salmon color and purpley blue. Here we want to apply a color that we already have. So the first thing I'll do is choose my selection tool and select the saucer and hold down the Shift key on the leaves. All of these gray colors will change that color. Over here in the Properties panel, we can see the fill thumbnail is this gray. I can click on that and choose from the existing colors here. We'll make it a kind of dark green, more like this. Voila. All of those are changed to green. You can also see that color reflected here in the context bar, and also over here is the fill color, and also no stroke. And that color is over here under Appearance. If we'd like to make that a custom color, I can click on any of these color buttons, right? I click once here. I can click on this thumbnail to get that. I can click over here and get the color picker, but I want to make a new color. Click on that, and I want to click on the color mixer, which is the artist palette here. You can enter colors if you've been provided those. I always find it easiest to choose visually, because ultimately, that's what we're doing, making a visual composition, what we have here. So I've made a custom color, and we can see what those cyan, magenta, yellow, and black values are. You could communicate these to your print shop to make sure that they know exactly the color that you want to have. This here is hexadecimal. This is actually an RGB equivalent. It's web colors. The first two letters are red, the second two are green, and the third pair of numbers is blue. RGB hexadecimal. So we've made this blue custom color by clicking on the color mixer. Back to swatches. If I like this color that we just made in the mixer, I can save it as one of my swatches. So with this color selected, I could just come down here and choose New Swatch. Here is that color I just made. The name is dependent on the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black color mix. You can name it anything you want. Light, dark blue, maybe. It can be a process color. Let's leave global checked, and I'll explain that in a minute. Color mode CMYK for print. And these are the various number definitions of that color. Okay, and here we are. We've seen it now. Our new saved swatch, it's named Light Dark Blue, appears here in our swatches panel. And we don't have to go back to the color mixer or enter any numbers. It's right here for us. The little triangle here in the bottom of the swatch means that it's a global color. And what that means is if I was to come and only click one of these elements, right, all 4 of these are the same color. And because it's a global color, if I was to double click on this swatch and make any changes, everything that is that color changes. Global color will make everything that is that color match all the time. Anything that is this light dark blue, which is now a more pink, purpley pink, is now a light purpley pink, right? We've changed that color. It's global. Even though we changed it here on this one leaf, all of them have changed, and the saucer. That's what a global color is. Let's do the same thing to make a color in the coffee mug here. I need to click off to deselect everything, click on the mug, and I'll just color that mug something along this green line here. One thing you might notice about non-global or the default swatches here in Illustrator is if I click on the fill thumbnail and then double click on this color that we're using now, highlighted here, I could change this and note that it's not global. So the only thing I'll change is whatever is selected. Nothing else will change. That's the default color swatches in Illustrator. We've looked over here in the context menu and right in the swatch options, the color mixer here under the painter's palette. You can also double click, just like in Photoshop, you can double click on the fill color over here on the left-hand tool menu and get the color picker and choose colors from there for whatever element is highlighted. For example, I'll click on my selection tool, click on this blue field behind here. See that purpley blue? Double click on that and I have a color picker now. I can use this eyedropper to come over and pick something else, some other color. I can just click in this palette somewhere to select any color I like. I've pressed my spacebar key to scroll over to this bookmark. If you're using a trackpad, you can also use 2 fingers to scroll around within your document. Another option we have for color selections is the swatch libraries. To see those swatch libraries, I can click on the color swatch thumbnail in the context bar. And if you happen to be in the color mixer or somewhere else, you can just click on the swatches and then on the kind of books here. And these are all of the default color libraries that are included with Illustrator. And they all give you a set of different colors, so pop art. And that will open up a color library, a swatch library related to whatever it is you've chosen. You can see some other ones I've opened here. So, oops, wrong thing selected. Command Z to undo, select, deselect, and I'll choose one of these colors here. Right, I'm on this green. I clicked on one of the pop art colors, right, to change all of them at once. Or if I was to use a Middle Ages color palette, ancient, all kinds of different color selections here in these color libraries. Kid stuff, purple. So poke around in those color libraries. Lots of fun color options in there. If you've created a custom color, like the global colors we were talking about earlier, you can also create tints of those colors, which makes them lighter by adding white. So for this, I'll come down here and click on this relax, the yellow rectangle behind it. Click on my fill color and choose this purpley pink I made earlier. I click on that purpley pink swatch. I now have made this that color. To create it as a tint to lighten that color, not on a default swatch, but on a custom swatch that you have created, if you click on the color mixer, you can change this slider to make a lighter version of that same color. There we go. And now I've created a tint of that color. If I wanted to save this as a new color, you see our original purpley pink right there. I can't go back and use this color again. I'll just have it here as the fill color and then click my plus again. And now I have another version, a tinted version of that purpley pink. And if I double click, I can change it as I like. I'll click off of that image and then use 2 fingers on my trackpad to move this over. If I wanted to copy color attributes from one thing to another, I can click on, for example, this triangle object here, then click on my eyedropper and go find a color that I like and click on it to change that element. And that's how we copy those attributes from one to the other. there. In our compositions, we're also trying to use colors that work together. Same as music, right? We want notes that work together, color notes in this case. To get ideas for colors that work together, you could choose Window, Color Guide, and the Color Guide window suggests tints, lighter versions, shades, darker versions, and analogous colors for what we're using in our composition. For example, here I have this brown that I copied from over here as the fill color. So it's giving us then the other harmonious colors that work with the composition. Also here in the color guide, you have the opportunity to change the way the harmony rules are applied to get different varieties of that harmony, complementary colors, monochromatic, etc. You could change you're changing the variety of colors within your palette using the color guide, and all of those colors will work in harmony. And here, this drop-down gives you different ways to create that harmony. All right, I'll close up the color guide, and I'll slide over here to this brown one, slide this out of the way. And what we want to do here is recolor this one. I don't want to have to go in and redo each individual object, right? I want to recolor the whole artwork. To do that, I'll choose Select All on Active Artboard, which is this brown one. And here is the recolor wheel or option here. So I'll choose recolor, and that brings up this color wheel that changes the rest of the colors in the artwork in relation to each other. And it's kind of fun to drag these handles around in and out to make them darker and lighter. We can experiment here. This is the Harmonize Colors connector. And if I uncheck it, each one of these handles can be pulled individually. So the most prominent colors, objects of that color will change in the document. If I harmonize again, now they'll all change in relationship to each other. You can apply different libraries, bright, there we go. Color themes, I can choose, for example, from this basket of oranges. If I want my tea time label here to match some product that it's supposed to synchronize with, I might choose from that product to synchronize the colors. Boop, green for lime, maybe it's a lime tea. Color theme picker, you can see how I can click on any of these colors around here and change the whole color scheme on the product. Also here in the recolor window is generative recolor. This is the AI element of recoloring here in Illustrator. And with generative recolor, we can describe in text, describe the color palette, mood, or theme you want to generate. So let's say Atlanta at night, and I'll click generate, and it will give me variations based on those word prompts. Now I've added a little more context, right, to my prompt, my color prompt. I put anything in there to see what you'll get. Click generate, interesting. Maybe I'll say something like, I don't know what to put in these kinds of boxes. Just the first thing in my mind. I don't know what the first thing in your mind is, so try it out. Yeah, now we're getting there. I like this one. That's a nice one. I love how purpley it gets. So try out your phrases, try out lines from songs that seem colorful to you. Try out anything you like and see what you get. So I'll stick with this. My generative recolor has recolored the entire document based on the prompt of psychedelic clouds floating through an alien sky full of strange vehicles. Okay, we'll stick with that. We'll stick with those colors. And now let's try Live Paint. So Live Paint works like a coloring book. It allows you to change the color of areas without changing the objects underneath. It kind of creates fill areas based on parameters that you set. For this example, we'll go look at the Artboard 5 here, Live Paint, which is this one. And I'll double click on this artboard to enter what's called isolation mode. You'll see it here. And what I'm doing is I'm only working on this object or this artboard in isolation mode. And to get started using Live Paint, I'll click for the line segment tool, which is here underneath the shapes, line segment. And I'll do a line here, I'll do a line there, and I'll do a line here, right? So I've drawn a line here in isolation mode, and I've got another line down here. I can't see them because I don't have the fill or stroke on. These are guides for the Live Paint. I'll click Escape to get out of isolation mode. I click on the coffee cup group, and I can see the lines that I made in isolation mode when I clicked on it. And I will choose Object, live paint, make. So these lines now will kind of be dams that will stop color from flowing. We've made this a live paint group now, and you can see that the anchors have all changed to this little splash look. Let me undo that, right? Here we are with our regular anchors, just the little squares. And then if I redo object, live paint, make, watch the anchors. So now we know this is a live paint object. The live paint tool is under the shape builder tool, but on the advanced toolbar menu. Yet another reason to keep your advanced toolbar just turned on. Makes life easier. Now we see the shape builder tool has a little caret down here. So we click and hold on it and get the live paint bucket tool. Now for fill, I'll click on that and I'll choose my purpley pink I made earlier. And in live paint, what happens, you see that the little, look here at the colors to the left and right. Here's that purpley pink. Here's that tint I made of the purpley pink. And here's a pattern. And then I come out here, you see with my cursor, it's showing me those same colors, the color to the left and the color to the right, the color swatch to the left and the color swatch to the right. And if I click in here, the live paint fills in that area. And you can see how I'm clicking around in here with the live paint and different color combinations, and can change up my dividing lines here within my live paint group to be able to change those colors. When I click my left and right arrows is when I can change the swatch. I'm clicking on my left and right arrows and it's going left and right within the swatch menu. Another way you can change those live paint groups is by going in here. I'll choose my selection tool again under view and outline. Now I can see those invisible paths I used to set that live paint limitation, the live paint parameters. You can see these lines that I use to set the live paint parameters. And if I wanted to change those, I can click on my direct selection tool and maybe, zoom in to see what I want to do, click on it and move it around. I'll click on this one too, maybe move it down here. Then come back under view and choose GPU preview. And now we can see how I've modified those live paint areas. Come back to live paint here, and I'm left, right, clicking on my arrow keys to get a different color. Click Command 0. That's a lot. And get out of my live paint tool by clicking on my selection tool here. You can see my group that I've selected again. That's pretty hideous, but I've definitely experimented with the colors, which is the point of this tutorial. So when you've completed these exercises, and what that means for us in this tutorial is changing the colors from the default. What I'd like you to do is to use the tools that we talked about, live paint, recolor artwork, swatches, custom swatches, swatch libraries. It's that experimentation with the tools available in Illustrator that will make you better at using Illustrator. I'll press Command 0 here on my document. I'll choose View, Fit All in Window to see my whole document here. Then I'll choose File, Save As on my computer. Just name it your last name. Format should be Adobe PDF. Save it wherever you can find it again. And save. Save PDF. Upload that to Blackboard and you are done. While we spend a lot of time in Illustrator working on objects and paths and strokes, color is an important part of all of this work that we do. Be sure to put color experimentation high on your priority list of things to work with as you continue to practice with Illustrator. Thank you for your attention. I'll see you soon.